If you're an iPhone user and if you're thinking maybe I should switch to Galaxy Ultra, I did it. I used iPhones since first generation. I'm not deep in the Apple ecosystem. I don't have a Mac, I don't have an Apple Watch, none of that. So this is not one of those Apple fan cannot live without iMessage stories. I switched from an iPhone 11 Pro Max to a Galaxy S25 Ultra, and I used as my main phone for 6 months. This is not a first week impressions video. This is the long-term honest experience you won't find in the spec sheets. And my overall summary is simple. The Galaxy Ultra is more capable but feels less engineered. Faster in many ways, but less precise, more buggy, more rough edges. Let's get into the real day today. I'm not here to argue cameras or benchmarks. The Galaxy Ultra is obviously a monster phone. This video is for iPhone users who care about the daily experience. The very first thing after you switch is installs and logins. And that means passwords, a lot of passwords. I use Bitwarden as my password manager. On Android, I noticed that Bitwarden requires Android-specific URLs to recognize the websites or the apps or whatever I'm trying to log into. Since I come from an iPhone, Bitwarden uses general URLs or generic URLs, not the Android-specific URLs, and that was a problem. So you end up doing more manual work at first. You need to search the vault manually. You need to copy usernames. You need to copy passwords, paste them, etc. You need to add the Android URL into the saved password if you want it to work fine the next time. And when you are migrating your entire life, friction matters. Okay, let's get to the scrolling and touch. This is one of my biggest long-term takeaways. Galaxy navigation and scroll speed is insanely fast, but the problem is precision. Even with a screen protector and increased touch sensitivity enabled, I still had more missteps than iPhone. The iPhone touch system just feels locked in, like it knows exactly what you meant. On the Galaxy, it's fast, it's smooth, but less precise. Over months, that becomes noticeable because you're tapping thousands of times. If you're the type of person who notices keyboard accuracy, tiny UI targets, and little misclicks, you will feel this. Here's another thing. Quick settings, control center. When you scroll from top right. On iPhone, control center is simple. It's not perfect, but it's consistent and usable. On the Galaxy, the equivalent is too bloated. It doesn't feel intuitive. It feels like a panel full of options, but not something designed around what a human does all day. And I'm not saying it's unusable. You can customize it. You can change tiles, but the default experience is messy. This is a theme with Android in general. You can make it amazing, but you need to work for it. iPhone is more like it's engineered to be good immediately. Let's get to some small iPhone conveniences that you don't realize you love. Here's one that sounds silly until you lose it. On iPhone, you can tap the top to scroll to the top, right? On Galaxy, that's not a thing across apps. You need to scroll to the top. It's a bummer because you don't realize how much you used it until you lose it. And here's another navigation thing overall. On One UI, you open a folder containing multiple apps, you open the app, and you go back home. It takes you back to home screen, not back into the folder. So it slows down quick multi-app usage because you keep reopening the folder to get to another app within the same folder, for instance. I think this is partly getting used to it, but it still feels less polished than iOS. If you use the iPhone silent switch multiple times a day, this is going to annoy you. Galaxy does not have a physical silent button. Switching sound modes is more steps. And yes, you can set up shortcuts, you can set up modes and routines and tiles, whatever. But it still feels extra effort compared to one physical flick. Also, having all the buttons on the same side makes it harder to hand feel your way around. On iPhone, after years, you can navigate without thinking. Volume buttons on the left, power button on the right. On the Galaxy, the button layout takes more conscious effort. Let's get to the notifications and mainstream app reliability. This one surprised me because we were talking about mainstream apps. I never got Outlook notifications work properly. No matter what I did, I couldn't get to display Outlook notifications on the lock screen. And I'm not talking about a work phone, company policies, nothing like that. This is a personal phone. I went through all the settings, did all my research, of course. Nope, doesn't work. Yes, I uninstalled and reinstalled Outlook too. Nope. And for example, I started seeing the same weird behavior from eBay notifications. So it feels random. When you can't rely on the notifications, it feels less reliable. You can miss an important thing. This is the kind of thing that makes phone less engineered. Because when iPhone users say it just works, they mean boring stuff like notifications, not fancy stuff, right? When notifications are flaky, you start not trusting your phone. Okay, here's another app glitch. YouTube. I have YouTube Premium, so this is not a you need premium situation. On the Galaxy and Android, YouTube is buggy. Not like, oh, it crashed once. I mean consistently buggy. Here are the examples. Videos randomly dim, and you need to quit and relaunch the app to get back to the default brightness. And auto brightness is off, nothing like that. It just dims. Some gestures feel inconsistent. For example, you press and hold, it doubles the speed. It sometimes works, sometimes does not. Double tap to skip chapters in a video never works. And maybe not a bug, but just inconvenience. Background play does not work on vertical live streams. Nope. Go back to home screen, live stream stops. This is insane because YouTube is not a niche app. It's one of the top apps on the planet. And it's Google's own ecosystem, right? So when YouTube is glitching like this, again, it reinforces the message. Powerful, fast, but not as polished. Okay, Bluetooth and the car. Now, the most frustrating part for me was the car experience. Android Auto Wireless is horrible. It drops connection randomly and volume behavior is a joke. Here's what happens. Let's say Spotify is installed and let's say you are at that time listening something from YouTube and let's say you touch the volume knob. As soon as you touch it, Spotify starts playing. You were listening to something on YouTube and it switches to Spotify immediately. Again, I did everything that you will come up on your searches, but no, it doesn't change. You cannot change it. And there were some users recommending uninstall Spotify. Hey, is that a solution? Come on. This is exactly what I mean by less engineered, because it's not about specs. It's about the phone behaving like a normal product in every day-to-day situations. One more. I noticed a lip sync timing issue when switching to a headphone. It's likely a codec issue, and yes, Bluetooth codecs can have latency, etc. But what matters is the experience. If you're sensitive to audio-video sync, you will notice it. Now, I'm not here to trash the phone. I'm still using it because the strengths are real. Speed is crazy. Camera is great. DeX is actually useful and feels like a superpower. So this phone is like I'm carrying a super mini computer. If you love tech, settings, features, power user stuff, you will love this phone. It's exciting. So who should buy it and who should not? Here's my honest recommendation. Do not buy this as a gift for an elderly family member. Do not buy it for someone who just wants a phone that behaves consistently without effort, because the rough edges will frustrate them. This is a phone for nerds, for people who love gizmos, for people who don't mind tweaking, troubleshooting, customizing. iPhone is for the masses. It's engineered for consistency and predictability. Galaxy Ultra is for the person who wants maximum capability, even if it means some dealing with weird stuff. So, am I switching back to iPhone? For now, no. I'm staying on the Galaxy. But it depends. If Apple keeps releasing the same phone with tiny improvements year over year, I also don't want to reward that. So I'm watching what's coming out from both companies. If Samsung improves the polish and kills these bugs, Galaxy is unbeatable. If Apple actually innovates again while keeping the reliability, it may pull me back. So that's my honest 6 months review. Galaxy Ultra feels more capable, less engineered. Amazing hardware, tons of power, but you will feel the rough edges. If you are an iPhone user considering the jump, tell me what you value the most, reliability or features. And I tell you which side you will probably end up on. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up. Bye.